Hi, welcome to Personality Hacker. My name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge. And today we're going to talk about the Myers Briggs type of ESFJs, or the harmony memory type in the Genius Style Assessment. Now, we're not going to go super granular on this type. What we're going to do is we're going to do more of a riff and kind of talk about some components of their personality and maybe some things that are surprising to other people about this type.
Yeah, ESFJs lead with a process that we've nicknamed, a cognitive process we've nicknamed harmony. And so they're really interested in making sure that they get everyone's needs met that are around them to create harmony and to create a great experience for people. They're very people-centric. They really love people and they love to interact with people. And I always think of the ESFJ as the hostess, or the person that shows up as the person that can host a space and be very host-oriented.
Yeah, well, and I think there's very little that's as interesting to them as authentic connection. And they tend to be sort of the social arbiters of our world. And what I mean by that is there's a strong connection that they have with what's appropriate and inappropriate. Like, they know what's going to offend people and what's not going to. And
it's instinctual.
Yeah, they have this instinctual understanding of like sort of what the social rules are. And this is actually really important because we can't just go around offending everybody all the time, right? Like, we'd be in constant conflict. And I think that's what's so powerful about this type is that they're really excellent at kind of understanding how people's dynamic and interplay impacts the entire group on an emotional level. So they end up being very good at understanding social politics. They're really good at it.
Yeah, I've seen ESFJs walk into a room and literally within a few seconds, they know who the highest status person is in the room, who like the second highest status, who the lowest status, who's dating who would like to be dating who that no one else knows about. They just kind of have the body language. They can figure all this stuff out just almost instantly walking into a room.
Well, and they know the culture of the room.
Exactly.
Like, they know what the rules are very quickly because that's just on their radar, and they get really good at figuring that out. Now, what's really important for an ESFJ is that they couple that harmony process with their co-pilot process of memory. Now, what memory does is memory is what sort of traps our experiences and helps us go over them again in the future to be able to determine what those experiences mean to us. And how an ESFJ gets in touch with their identity that sort of gets created over time. Like, who are they based on how they were raised, how they grew up, maybe what schools they went to, the people that were influencers in their lives. Basically, they're a mosaic of all of their experiences from the past. And so the more an ESFJ can get into that memory space, the more they can understand who they are, not just in relationship to everybody else, because harmony helps you understand who you are in relationship to everyone else. They also understand who they are as a unique individual, not just as somebody who's a caretaker or as a hostess or as somebody who's getting everybody else's needs met, but who they are as a unique individual and how they've sort of been fashioned over time.
Yeah. So if you're this type, growing your co-pilot process of memory is important. And oftentimes when the exact opposite cognitive function, which we've nicknamed exploration, is a place you tend to go, especially when you're young as an ESFJ. I know a lot of ESFJs who've kind of been feisty and they've been in a lot of
wild
wild pass.
Yeah.
And that's because this process, as you're growing and developing, this 10-year-old process is definitely a part of your personality. And the important thing is not to stay there, obviously, is to grow and begin to get into that co-pilot process of memory.
Yeah, well, and you're absolutely right that the more an ESFJ goes to the 10-year-old process of exploration, the more wild they stay. And they also have a tendency to speculate on other people, and that actually keeps them more judgmental than they normally would be. When they go to the memory process, that's what helps them become more responsible. It helps them understand what they're sort of the place that they want to stay, sort of creating a nest maybe, or like sort of having that relationship and that dynamic with their family that's really important to them. And so they step up to a more responsible role. And it also helps them remember that everybody is unique based on what they've experienced in the past. So if an ESFJ goes to that 10-year-old space too much, what ends up happening is especially after they've grown out of sort of the wild child time period, when they get older, if they go too much to the 10-year-old position, usually how they use it is by speculating on what other people are doing with their lives. And they may actually get gossipy. And they'll be like, well, who knows what's going on in that house over there, right? And they don't really have anything except for maybe a couple pieces of information that they're speculating on. When they go back to their memory process, they realize that everybody has a right to some privacy, but also everybody is just doing the best they can with what they've been given. Yeah. And that everybody has sort of a toolbox that they've collected over time. And when you get in touch with your own toolbox through the memory process, that gives you more grace for other people and helps you sort of understand that they're just kind of experiencing whatever's going on in their life, which may or may not be any of your business. So if you are a person of this type, we recommend that you go to the Genius Style Assessment at personalityhacker.com, hit the button that says take the test, or maybe you've already done so, and so now you know that you're harmony memory, and just kind of give some consideration to the premium content that's available, because we really talk about some tips and strategies for becoming the best version of your type and making sure that you're staying in a place that optimizes your personal happiness and connection with other people and the happiness of the people around you.
I love ESFJs. I have this story. I was at my grandmother's house. She had to go to the doctor and get some medication. She's, I think, 92 at the time. And we had gone to the pharmacy, and she was getting her prescription filled. And I was driving her, and she came back out to the car. And the gentleman who was the pharmacist was an ESFJ personality type. He actually left the building and ran all the way out to catch the car as we were driving by. He knocked on my window and said, "Sir, can I talk to you for a moment?" And I got out of the car. And he pulled me to the side, and he took the time to explain the prescriptions and the medications my grandmother needed, and he really made me feel taken care of. He was a person that made me feel like he was really genuinely concerned about myself and my grandmother and her health, and he was helping to explain some things that even the doctors hadn't explained to her about her medication. And I was just like, I love that about ESFJs, that ability to show up and really have the needs of other people on their radar.
Yeah. My sister was an ESFJ, and I say was because she actually died 12 years ago. And I feel like the world really lost something because she was so open-hearted. I don't know anybody who is more open-hearted and more generous than my sister. And I've noticed that with a lot of ESFJs, is that they just have this open-heartedness and this generosity of spirit about them, that if they give themselves permission to have that, they can be some of the most generous people on the planet.
Absolutely. So what would you say is a secret about ESFJs that most people don't know?
What is the secret about ESFJs that most people don't know? I think that I think ESFJs unconsciously get a bad rap. Even if people don't understand personality types, there's this sense about them that they're judgmental because they've got their finger on the pulse of society so much, and they know what's appropriate and inappropriate, so they kind of feel like they have to, remind people what's appropriate behavior and inappropriate. But I think the secret is that that's actually not them being judgmental about other people. It's them really, truly wanting to caretake. And so I think they're actually a lot more generous than people give them credit for. Not just generous in sort of the caretaker way, where they'll take care of everybody's needs, but generous of spirit. I think there's a lot of generosity that a lot of ESFJs really, truly, authentically have and that they bring to the table. And we didn't mention it before, but I want to mention it now. Make sure, as an ESFJ, make sure you're getting your needs met. Because that harmony driver process will make you want to get everybody else's needs met before yours, and you'll forget that you're part of everybody. So make sure you're getting your needs met. And when that happens, when an ESFJ is truly taking care of their needs as well as everybody else's, not instead of everybody else's, right? Only focused on their needs. But when they're getting everybody's needs met, including themselves, that's when you see that great generosity of spirit, because they're making sure they're not tapped out. They're not resenting anybody. They're making sure that they're full, they're in abundance, and the people around them are too. And I think that that's probably where they show up the best.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for going on this riff with us about the ESFJ personality in the Myers Briggs system, or the harmony memory personality in the Genius system.